Welcome to my channel on the best of fantasy. Well, here we are in my favorite season of the year, fall. And I have a fairly ambitious pile of books here next to me for my fall TBR. But it really was, just looking back at the summer, a very productive summer. I did not read everything that I talked about on my summer TBR, but I did, I think, pretty well and had a great time. And I think that's really more the point, is that I have a good time reading books and talking with my fellow booktubers and you guys as we discuss the various books together in the comments and so forth. So it was a great summer looking back. I had a fantastic time, learned a lot, and fell in love with some great books. But now we're looking forward to the fall. So I do have a pretty big pile here next to me. Not all of these books are actually going to be for my fall reading. That is absolutely for sure. It's just more of a maybe sort of thing. Some of them are really, but in the first pile here, this is a definite. These are books that I definitely want to read in the fall, and maybe a couple of the ones in the other pile too. We'll talk about those later. Let's start with what I'm reading right now. Right now I am in the midst of The Wisdom of Crowds. This is by Joe Abercrombie. It is the finale, the finish to the Age of Madness trilogy. I'm absolutely loving this so far. Abercrombie is a top 5 author for me, and this is certainly not disappointing me thus far. I'm having a grand time with it, and I will be doing a review of Wisdom of Crowds in the near future, as well as a discussion that I'm very excited for that will not be on my channel but on another channel, and I'm really excited for it. So lots of Joe Abercrombie content, I think, in the fairly near future, but I am so excited. And this, by the way, I want to mention this. I never do book haul videos, just not my thing, but I do want to mention that this was a gift from my good friend Alan from the Library of Alexandria. It is a signed copy. You can see there's Joe Abercrombie's, I don't know if you can see that or not, but that's his squiggle there, his signature. I've never actually had a signed copy of a book before this year, so this is a very special gift, and very grateful to my buddy Alan for this. So there we go. That's what I'm reading now. Now, what's going to be up next? Well, speaking of Alan, I'm going to be doing a discussion with Alan on his channel on Terry Pratchett's, one of his Discworld books, of course, Guards. Now, this is not Guards. I had this here to remind me to mention this. This is his first book, The Color of Magic, which I read before I started the channel. But I will be getting Guards in the mail any day now, one hopes. Books are taking a long time to get to people these days, I think. But it's coming. It's on the way. It'll be here before I need it, I hope. But I'm reading Guards, and I'm discussing it with Alan. And I'm very excited to be reading. I've only read the first 2 books, including The Color of Magic in the Discworld books. So I'm very happy and excited to be getting further into Discworld in the very near future. And I'll be reviewing that on my channel as well. A series, speaking of series that I'm excited to get further into, the Dresden Files has been a great experience for me thus far. I read the first 3. I keep meaning to get back to this series, which is really fantastic. Summer Night is where I'm told by many Dresden Files fans that this is where things really get kicked up a few notches in the series. So I am excited to finally get to book 4 in the relatively near future. So yeah, this has been a lot of fun for me, and a welcome break from the bigger epic stuff. So a couple lighter reads there for me. And I am going to be finishing the last John Gwynne book that I have yet to read that he has published thus far. This is the 3rd book in a Blood and Bone trilogy. It is A Time of Courage. I've been having a great time reading Gwynne's books this year. I read all of his books this year that he's published, and this is the last one. I'm so looking forward to finishing off this trilogy. And in the future, I am really excited to keep going with the Bloodsworn trilogy, which started with The Shadow of the Gods, which I think is, for me, the best Gwynne book yet. But who knows? I might really love A Time of Courage. So I am looking forward to that. And I've been part of a group discussion with all of the Gwynne books, and that will remain the case for A Time of Courage. So that's something I'm very excited for. I love my discussions with my fellow booktubers. That is what I live for, really. This is one of the great things about BookTube are these discussions. For me, the number one thing, honestly. So, well, and speaking of collaborations and discussions, I continue my Malazan read with my good friend, Dr. A.P. Canavan, otherwise known as Professor Fireballs. And we are, well, actually, we've finished up Reaper's Gale, just about finished up Reaper's Gale. We'll be having our discussion on that soon. And we did do a prologue discussion. There will be a discussion of a poem from Reaper's Gale that will be on AP's channel, A Critical Dragon. But we will have our usual spoiler-free discussion on Reaper's Gale on my channel, and the spoiler-filled one on his coming shortly. And then after that, at some point, I'll be reading the next book in the Novels of the Malazan Empire by Ian Esselmont. This is Blood and Bone. This is the 5th book in the series of 6. So I'm really excited. I've been loving Ian Esselmont's books, just loving them. For me, the complete Malazan experience includes Esselmont's books. And so I am really thrilled. What they have given me in and of themselves as great stories, I've enjoyed them tremendously. Plus, they have enriched my reading of Stephen Erickson's books, of the Malazan Book of the Fallen. So these all feed into each other. All these different series in the Malazan world really do feed into each other for me. So I feel that Esselmont has just deserves to be spoken about as one of the best fantasy writers of today. So just great stuff. And I will also be reading in the fall A Sail. That's the final book in the Novels of the Malazan Empire. And this is going to be really great. And of course, talking about these with AP as usual. So we're going to have fun with that. And speaking of Mr. Erickson, what we have left in the Malazan books, we've got, after Reaper's Gale, we've got Toll the Hounds. And apologies for the lack of a dust jacket. I have this used hardcover that is lacking the... Yeah, well, we won't talk about that too much. But someday I'm going to replace it with something that matches these. I've got my Dust of Dreams here. And I really do like these the best. These paperbacks, the nice big ones. So I hope to eventually replace all of my Malazan books with something like these. Would love to have the really fancy editions of Malazan someday, but maybe when I grow up. But here is, of course, The Crippled God, which I do hope AP and I will finish this year. I imagine this probably will be happening in December, but we shall see. We shall see where life takes us. But I'm optimistic that we can finish both of those Malazan series this year. And I'm just blown away by them. And as you know, if you've been following the channel, for me, the Malazan books as a whole, my number one favorite series, world, fantasy, whatever you want to call it, of all time. It's just absolutely been a tremendous journey for me, especially as I've been sharing it with my good friend AP. He and I have had a great time discussing all of the books thus far, and I'm really, really excited for the final books. It's just been one tremendous journey. Every bit as deep and amazing as writing my dissertation was as a graduate student. I mean, it's just been so enriching. So the Malazan books will always be a very special place for me. So, and speaking of which, Erickson wrote something else here, and it's been talked about by some people. The God is Not Willing. This is part of the sequel trilogy, and it's the Witness trilogy that Erickson is working on now. I have not read it yet, but I am excited to. And you may be wondering, why do I have 2 copies of this? Well, one is a paperback, one of those nice large paperbacks. And this was given to me by a really wonderful person and includes some art. So it's very personalized for me. And it's just very special for that reason. And this is the copy that I'm going to be reading when I get to it after AP and I finish the Malazan Book of the Fallen. We do all that. We're going to read, and this is probably honestly going to be next year at this rate, but it will happen eventually. We're going to read The God is Not Willing and discuss it together. So I'm very, very excited for it. I don't know even how I'm resisting reading it right now, because this is the only thing by Erickson in the Malazan world that I haven't read yet, because I actually have read the Malazan Book of the Fallen before. So this is something I'm so excited to do. But I also wanted to show you guys another very special book. So this is why I have 2 of these. This is a hardcover, and this was a gift to me from none other than my good friend, my nemesis, my fremesis, Dr. A.P. Canavan, a.k.a. Professor Fireballs. He bought me this wonderful, wonderful book. And it's just so special to me because it's a signed book, signed by Steven Erikson. And you can see here, it came from the bookshop, Monroe's, where Steven Erikson does all his signing and everything. It's near where he lives. And it's just so special to me. And I won't read this copy because I just want to preserve it. But I will very fondly look at this inscription, which is written out to me. And it says, I want to read what it says to you, and I hope AP's fine with that. I'm sure he will be, but I found it very, very touching, and at the same time, so Dr. Fireballsian. So here I am going to read it. And this is from Steven Erikson. To Philip, thanks for the great YouTube discussions, but AP is the original Dr. Fantasy. And then in parentheses, he puts, he made me write that. Yours, Steven Erikson. So this is so amusing and special to me. And AP, no, I am Dr. Fantasy, and you are Professor Fireballs, and that's just the way it is. So, yeah, you can't, sometimes the nickname comes to you, and you can't do much about it. So, I think you're stuck. So, eventually I will read that probably next year. So, what else am I reading? Definitely starting in the fall, I will be reading Shadow and Betrayal. This is a compendium, omnibus. Thank you, that's the word I was looking for. It's an omnibus of the first 2 books in the Long Price Quartet. So yes, I am reading this after being persuaded largely by Alan from the Library of Alexandria and others who have just loved this series, this quartet. And this has the first 2 volumes. This has both a Shadow in Summer and a Betrayal in Winter. So I'm very, very excited to finally be getting this, because a lot of people have said to me that I'm going to love this quartet. So very excited, and I'm going to definitely be getting into it because I am reading it along with some fellow booktubers. And we're going to have, I think, a discussion on this one, the first book that is, in late November. So there's a chance we could get to the second possibly in December. But that is something I'll be starting in the fall, and very much looking forward to. So it's the collaborations you can see that I prioritize here. I have to get the stuff read so I can talk with my friends, which is a good thing. That's a wonderful thing about BookTube. Aside from the fact that I love the discussions, it's a motivator too to be involved with other people in the readings of these books and having a great time learning from them and discussing, and just that's what BookTube's all about for me. So. And then I do already have the 3rd and the 4th books, also in an omnibus, so an Autumn War and the Price of Spring, but pretty sure that I won't get to those until next year. So that is that. Now, I think I'm going to be able to squeeze in the fall the next Sapkowski book. I did read the first 2, they're the short story collections. So what I need to do is get into the actual novels, and they begin with Blood of Elves. And I enjoyed the short story collections, so that is definitely a series that I'm going to get to. I am going to read this, and I think I'll probably be able to get to this before the end of the year. It's not a huge book, and I am very curious to see how I like the novels, the Witcher novels. So this is something that I've been sort of kicking down the road because of, other priorities and the commitments that I've had with the various books that I'm reading with other people. So those are definitely a priority. Another one that I definitely really want to get to before the end of this year, for sure, is Wizard and Glass. This is the 4th book in Stephen King's Dark Tower series. I have loved the first 3 books. I just was blown away. And I've become a Stephen King fan after only 3 books, and just regretted that I never started Stephen King earlier. And I am very, very eager to get to this. I would have gotten to it sooner if I hadn't had other commitments. So this is one that I definitely want to sneak in before the end of the year. Pretty sure I can do that, although it's kind of fat. So these get bigger, I guess, don't they? So, but I'm looking forward to getting further in with Stephen King. Now, the rest of these, they're here because these are books I've talked about, and I've kicked them down the road, but I'm going to get to them. Realistically, not till next year. But actually, the first one here by David Gemmell is not one I've talked about before, specifically Legend. But I have mentioned a couple times that AP and I, once we finish the Malazan books, all the Malazan books, we're going to do some more discussions together, some more collaborations. And one of them we are definitely doing is some David Gemmell. And this was also a present to me from AP. So we are definitely doing Legend, and I have a couple others lined up. So we're going to do David Gemmell. And that's part of our plans for next year, probably, realistically. So, but here we are, and it's definitely a big gap in my fantasy reading that I have long recognized that I need to fill. Gemmell was an inspiration for many of the authors that I really love. So I'm going to enjoy reading that, no doubt, and especially since I get to talk about it with AP. And another one that AP is going to get me to read is going to be the Raymond Feist, Janny Wurtz, Daughter of the Empire. And in fact, I want to read a lot more Janny Wurtz. I hear good things about her stuff, and I think that she is an author that I want to read a lot more of. And that's probably going to happen next year as well. I know AP is going to do some reading of Janny Wurtz, and I might just tag along for that too. So that is a very realistic possibility for next year. Another one that is a personal favorite of mine that I want to read more of is Mark Lawrence. I've read his first two trilogies, The Broken Empire and The Red Queen's War, and I'm very excited to read more Mark Lawrence. So the next logical step for me is going to be the Book of the Ancestor. And that begins with Red Sister. I actually have bought all three books. I have them ready to go. And I'm pretty sure early next year I'm going to get to some more Mark Lawrence. I love Mark Lawrence's writing. I think he's just a brilliant fantasy author. So I'm looking forward to that. Another one that I keep hearing about and I need to read, I know, is Josiah Bancroft and the Books of Babel. I actually have bought the first three. Here's the first one, Senlin Ascends. And again, I doubt that I'll get to this year. Pretty unrealistic to think that I could get to it this year, but I will get to this next year for sure. And I know the fourth book is coming out in November. I'm not going to make it in time for that, just to be honest. But I will read this series for sure. Based on what I've heard about it, pretty sure I'm going to love Senlin Ascends and the subsequent books in that series. Another one that I want to read, I haven't gotten to yet, is a self-published book by Miles Binding. He is a fellow booktuber, and I meant to read it earlier this year, just didn't get a chance, but I will be reading this at some point soon. And another author, a self-published book, because I'm trying to do self-published books on the channel. I think it's an important thing for us booktubers to shed some light on self-published authors. So I've got a book just recently here from Jeffrey Spate. I hope that's how you pronounce your last name, Jeff. But it's Paladin Unbound, and I'm really looking forward to checking this out. There's another self-published author who I'm going to be reading probably this year, though. But I haven't gotten the book yet, so I can't show it to you. But you'll see what that is as well, and I'm very, very excited for that one as well. And it's by Joseph Carroll. But that will be coming out hopefully this fall, I think. So, and Robin Hobb, one of my favorite authors in my top 5, and I'm going to be reading more Hobb. And this is something I'm going to be doing with AP next year. I have read the first 2 trilogies in the Realm of the Elderlings and absolutely love them. I think AP and I might go back to the beginning, though, and read Farseer first and just do the whole thing together as a discussion series. So this is Fool's Errand, and this was given to me, I've talked about this one before, by the wonderful Joanna. So this is also a book that is very special to me. But this is where I actually am in Realm of the Elderlings. But I think AP and I are going to go back to the beginning and do the whole thing together. And not all the way through at once, because we're going to interrupt that. We're going to do a trilogy, and then we're going to do some other reading, like the Gemmell and stuff, and then go back to Hobb. So it might take us more than a year to get through. It will take us more than a year to get through probably all of the Realm of the Elderlings. But that is a long-term project that we're going to do. So others that I'm going to get to, these I'm almost embarrassed to even mention these because I keep kicking them down the road. But I will get to these at some point, probably early next year. R. Scott Baker, The Darkness That Comes Before. I'll read it, I promise, at some point. And I think I'm going to love it, actually. Another one, City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. I keep talking about how much I want to read this book, and I actually do, but I just haven't had a chance to slip it in yet. But I will. I will get to this one, The City of Brass. I'm very excited for. Same thing here, Rage of Dragons. I don't know how many TBRs these have been on. At least 2 before this, I think. But I will get to Evan Winter's Rage of... Maybe by the time he finishes... It's a trilogy, right? I think so. The Burning, is it a trilogy? Maybe by the time he finishes the 3rd book, I'll be reading them and hopefully enjoying them. But I will get there. And then, of course, this big fella that I keep kicking down the road as well, Rhythm of War. Yeah, I'm embarrassed even to mention that I haven't read this yet, but I will. I will get to it at some point. I've been reading so many big books that I just haven't had a chance. I am actually excited to read Rhythm of War, but maybe I'll read it. Well, who knows when the next one's going to come out, Book 5 in the Stormlight Archive, but maybe I'll read it shortly before that one comes out, so I don't have to read any summaries or anything like that, but we'll see. Next year. I'll read it next year, for sure, right? So, I can't be the only booktuber who doesn't get to all the books in his TBR, right? I think so. So anyway, I know you'll all be very forgiving and engaging in the comments whenever we're talking about any of these books, and I deeply, deeply appreciate it. I appreciate all of you guys, and it looks like getting closer, creeping closer to 10,000 subscribers. So I think I am going to follow through on my threat to do what is it called? A live show or something like that, live thing. Yeah, I'll figure it out when I get there. But it's going to be fun. I'm going to do a live stream. That's what it's called, live stream, where I talk to you guys live while I'm being broadcast on YouTube. So when we get to 10,000, that's going to be our celebration. So if we get to 10,000, we'll see. I'm a couple hundred off right now, so I think it might happen. So yeah, I better figure out how to do a live stream, right? So I hope so, and it'll be a lot of fun. But thank you so much for joining me for this, and for all of your comments and all of the engagement. I am truly, truly grateful for all of it, and I will see you sometime soon. Until next time.